Hey everybody, it's Eric. How you doing today? Just hanging out with Loki for a little bit. Wanted to make a quick post to you guys. You want to say hi to everybody? Okay, you want to get down. Well, it's certainly been an interesting month. As a lot of you know, BRONX NIGHTS is now officially out. An epic, autistic, long COVID, Big Apple memoir. It's there, it's in paperback, it's an ebook. It's also available for free on my website, VikingWord.com. That's right. There have been people who have been accusing me of making up a bunch of stuff here. But why would I be doing that since I'm also giving the book away for free? And as a lot of you know, I've done some kind of gimmicky things. The paperback, the ebook, and the website version are all different. But it's been a really rough month. At the beginning of the month, a partner who I had living here, she had some sort of a psychotic break and took off, stopped taking her medications. When the system eventually finds her, she's going to go to rehab. Makes me really sad. It was 8 months of invested care. Kind of sad about that. And then a couple weeks after that, somebody came into my apartment and attacked me. I have a fractured skull still. And from all of this stress and anxiety, I lost my 2 jobs. My insomnia has come back. I haven't slept for 5 days now, but I'm actually doing okay. I'm resting. I'm relaxing. But, man, insomnia sucks. Long COVID sucks. That's why I wrote BRONX NIGHTS. Long COVID really stinks. And of course, I've written 11 other books. They're all available on Amazon or my TikTok shop. You can get them. Well, BRONX NIGHTS is out. I wrote it with a flurry and a flourish, and it just came out of me, and it's out there. But it's kind of a unique book because I'm adding chapters as I go. That's right. Every once in a while, I'm going to add one of 14 chapters, and they've already been updated on the paperback version and the ebook version, and also on the website, so you can go there. Sorry, I'm tired of them, guys. Hopefully I can get some sleep tonight. That's kind of the sucky thing, is the sleep medication that they gave me just isn't working right now, so I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm working with a couple of city agencies to help me out, so thanks. Oh, you want to come back up, buddy? This guy. Where would I be without Loki and Porridge? As many of you know, I have 2 emotional support animals, Loki and Porridge, and they've been by my side this whole time. It's been a spectacular month, but we made it through. Oh, hey, and by the way, I've got a furnished room here in New York City, so if you're looking for you need a place for 1 to 2 months, come on by. If you just wanted a little artistic sabbatical, send me a message. Listen, I've got this really nice furnished place in this luxury apartment, and as I've been telling people, when I first moved to New York, I could afford this place, and then the bottom fell out on my health. And if you've been following me, you know all about that. It's in the book. Well, I am excited to read the latest chapter of BRONX NIGHTS. It's called Chapter 7.5. It's a short story I published, actually never published, and so I'm just taking this opportunity to publish it. It's from my early 20s. We call writing like that juvenilia sometimes. It's when a writer or an artist is just getting started. But I thought, you know what, I love this story, so I'm going to publish it. So it's Chapter 7.5, and you can find it in BRONX NIGHTS. But here's a reading. The Mermaid Clothed. It was a large studio with the strong scent of sawdust and clay and drying paints. On the walls were pieces, works, some speaking to inexperience, others to the development of maturing artists. In a window stood a tall oval-shaped statue made from soapstone, polished and smoothed, and it seemed to resemble the socket hole of a pelvic bone. A thin white dust covered the windowsill where the statue was displayed. Numerous incomplete statues and projects made from wood or stone or metal such as copper lay scattered on benches and tables, waiting for their makers to return. Photographs from National Geographic were strewn about, the anatomy of the world, pictures of rice paddies and prancing gazelles and shipwrecks under the sea. There were model skeletons also of various parts detached, perhaps for studies of mandibles and skulls and fibulas. Yellow and purple and burnt umber danced together in a series of hideous masks with contorted features, thick, protuberant noses, melting faces, and eyes the size of pomegranates. Charcoal, black and browns, tinged with maroon, huddled together in paintings that resembled and reminded one of concrete sidewalks and telephone poles in large cities after midnight, on very cold nights where a person's breath comes out steaming like cigarette smoke. And a homeless man warms himself at a rusted barrel where a fire has been kept, which will be an occasional streak of red or rusted crimson running through these streets of the Nibble. The smell of sweat could be detected if one stood very still and inhaled deeply. Little round drops of red paint, like blood, had dried in the corner of a floor, and a painting above them entitled Joshua hung unframed. On a chair lay a hammer and chisel, beside which someone had left a necklace with a silver cross inlaid with lapis lazuli and lettered in a script which resembled Cyrillic or Greek. A young woman lay sleeping on a couch, the shade of the sea when it is at rest. She dreamed of mermaids and Neptune's fork, and she touched herself gently on the cheek as if to wipe away tears which were not there. Her auburn hair wrapped around her face and shoulders like waves embracing island cliffs. She wore a silk oriental blouse designed with swirling whirlwinds of violet and pinwheels of periwinkle. It left the gentle silhouette of her smoothly formed breasts, the slope of her back, and the curve of where her stomach disappeared into her side. On the wall above her were lithographs of idols and museums of Vishnu and Artemis and Aphrodite, of ancient fecund figurines. At the end of the row of pictures was a black and white photograph of a woman who was very awkward in her nakedness and sexless. The young woman stirred from her rest and brought her hands down to her side. Her eyes opened, and she rose, and she returned to her work. She walked across the room and carried the hammer and chisel over to a large bench on which rested a piece of marble worked roughly into the shape of a man sitting on a rock. As she brought the thick rubber head down upon the chisel, flaking away a thin flint of pale yellow rock, another figure stirred. A man, her model, had fallen asleep on another couch, one the shade of crimson, and he rose, returning to his position on a very large slab of unworked granite. He removed the blanket he had used to cover himself and shivered for a moment. Sometimes he was aware of his nakedness, but he knew it was just a body. She worked for some time, only pausing long enough for perspective. Once in a while, the man stood to stretch. As she worked, she never said a word, though he might occasionally make some effort toward conversation. Didn't her hands ever tire? How does that old song go again? Don't you believe in God? But she never replied. There were possibilities that occurred to him of naked artists and clothed artists, of naked models and clothed models, of all these combinations of a world clothed in nakedness, but he was naked. Naked and unashamed, and perhaps a fragment image of God. He surveyed the large studio and breathed its full air deep into his lungs. Works. There were many works, and he was one of them. He felt this fully now. The young woman paused again from her work and returned to her couch, flattening the ruffles in her blouse and skirt. Instead of returning to his couch, the man walked over to where she lay and stood over her, as from a distance, and pitied her. She began to dream again of the sea and of porpoises and sirens, and that she was a mermaid tempted by the strangeness of land where centaurs dwelt. She saw a naked man who could not swim or dive into the sea. And as he was drowning, she watched him from beneath the waters, watched the liquid fill his lungs until the last bubble of air slowly drifted upward. He sank effortlessly, his head slightly tilted, and he came to rest upon a bed of sand dollars and anemones. Well, that's the kind of thing that you write when you're in your young 20s and you think you're going to be a really serious author and you take a stab at magical realism. But that wasn't really my style. My style is more Bronx Nights. And if you've read any one chapter, you know what that style is. But I'm kind of in love with that short story. It's from a time of my youth, and it's based on something that really happened. I knew an artist, and she was making a sculpture of me, and I was her model. And it was a beautiful thing to realize, I don't know, that Pygmalion and Galatea can be real. So anyways, it's been a tough month. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I'm still hanging in there. I haven't slept in quite a while, but I will soon. I can feel it coming finally. Just wanted to give you a little story time today. Sometimes the things from our youth remind us of why we came so far. Anyways, Bronx Nights is out there. I'm out there. You're out there. We're all just trying to survive this thing. If you're one of them, and you know who I'm talking about, the door is still open. Thanks for dropping by, everyone. By the way, I still got that room. If you want a head start in New York or just want 1 to 2 months, I got a really nice furnished room in a luxury apartment here. Take me up on it.